The sunset over Talus 9 painted the sky in deep red and gold, turning the metal towers of the busy spaceport into glowing spears. Captain Hale stood on the loading ramp of his small frontier ship, rubbing the exhaustion from his eyes. He had just finished negotiating cargo fees with a group of traders when a strange feeling washed over him, the sense of being watched. When he turned, he saw a tall figure standing in the drifting dust, waiting with still, rigid posture. The figure stepped forward, revealing himself as a soldier. Long, polished scales covered his body like armor, shimmering dark blue under the fading light. His eyes, narrow and bright, held a mix of fear and hope. He walked straight up to, bowed deeply, and spoke in a voice that trembled despite its strength. "Human captain," the soldier said, "I come to you with a request. Accept my sister as your bride. She will never walk away from you." Blinked, he had heard strange proposals in the frontier, but nothing like this. He stared at the soldier, unsure if it was a joke, a threat, or some strange cultural misunderstanding. Before he could answer, the warrior stepped aside, revealing someone hidden behind him. A young woman sat in a floating hover chair. She was small compared to her species, her upper body delicate and covered with soft silver fabric. But what caught breath was not her fragility, it was her courage. She met his eyes without flinching, even though her lower body ended just below the hips. She had no legs, yet there was quiet pride in her posture, as if she refused to bow to anyone's pity. Felt his chest tighten. The galaxy was cruel to the weak, and they were harsh even among themselves. A legless woman would be treated like broken pottery, kept out of sight, hidden from suitors, considered incomplete. He had heard whispers of such traditions. But seeing her now, he realized she was not the broken one. It was the world around her that was broken. "Why me?" asked softly, turning back to her brother. The soldier inhaled sharply, as though the question hurt him. "Because humans honor their promises, because humans see what others ignore, and because—" his voice cracked. "Because she deserves a life she chooses, not one forced on her by our customs." The girl raised a trembling hand. "My name is Lyra," she said in a gentle tone. "And I do not want to be given away, human. I want the chance to choose my own path." Crouched slightly so he could look into her eyes at her level. They were golden, soft, but clouded with years of being judged. She looked at him not with fear, but with a plea for dignity. "You don't know me," said quietly. Lyra smiled, though it was small and tired. "I know enough. I know you did not laugh, you did not look away, you did not stare at what I am missing. You looked at me." Her brother nodded fiercely. "I have watched you humans for years. You help those who fall, you fix what is broken, you see worth even where others do not." His voice grew desperate. "I beg you, take her away from here. Even if you do not marry her, give her a new beginning." Felt the weight of their hope pressing against his ribs. He had not asked for this responsibility. He had not prepared for it. He had his own scars, his own failures, his own battles waiting on distant planets. He wasn't a hero, not anymore. But he looked at Lyra again, really looked. She sat tall despite the pain carried in her eyes. She held the hover chair's controls with steady fingers. She faced the world with no legs, but with the heart of someone who refused to break. Exhaled slowly. "What do you want, Lyra?" he asked. Her answer came without hesitation. "I want to live," she whispered, "where I am not a burden, where I can be more than what I lost." Something inside shifted, like a locked door quietly opening. "Then come with me," he said softly. "Not as a bride, not as a duty, but as someone who deserves a chance." Lyra's eyes widened, glistening. Her brother covered his face with his scaled hands and let out a shaking breath of relief. And as the three of them stood in the fading light, under engines roaring toward distant stars, something new began, something fragile, something hopeful, something that would change all their lives. The journey from Talus 9 to the frontier stars was long and quiet. Lyra sat near the window of ship, watching streams of light bend across space as they entered. She held her hands together tightly, trying to steady the trembling inside her. She had left her home, her people, and everything she knew, trusting a human she had met only hours ago. Watched her from the cockpit doorway. She looked small against the vastness of space, but there was something powerful in the way she studied the stars, as if she searched for a place where she finally belonged. He walked over slowly, not wanting to startle her. "Is the temperature fine?" he asked gently. Lyra nodded. "Humans keep their ships warm, ships are colder." She paused, "but this feels comforting." Sat on the metal bench beside her. He didn't speak right away. He wanted her to start when she was ready. After a long silence, Lyra took a deep breath. "You want to know why my brother asked you that?" she said softly. "Didn't deny it, only if you're willing to tell me." Lyra's eyes lowered and her voice became fragile like thin glass. "When I was a child, we lived near the crystal forests of. I used to run with the other younglings between the glowing trees. I was fast, faster than all of them." Her lips curved into a small, distant smile. "I dreamed of becoming a warrior. It was all I ever wanted." Then her smile faded. "When the war came, our city was attacked. Buildings collapsed. Fires spread. I lost my legs under the ruins." Her fingers curled into her dress. "I was 9. Felt a sharp ache in his chest. The galaxy was full of cruelty, but some wounds were deeper because they stole futures, not just limbs. When I woke in the healing hall," Lyra continued, "my mother cried for days, not because I almost died, but because she thought I would never have a family. On our world, warriors are valued. Strength is valued. I became something they do not understand, something they do not know how to respect." She swallowed hard, fighting tears. "I was kept inside most of my life. When marriage age came, my parents tried to arrange matches. Some men refused to even meet me. Others came only to earn honor, not love. Frowned, they treated you like an object." Lyra nodded. "Yes, a trade piece, a responsibility, a flaw." Her voice cracked, and for the first time since he met her, saw her break. She turned her face away, ashamed of her tears, but reached out, placing a hand gently on hers. She didn't pull away. "Lyra," he said softly, "you don't need to hide your pain from me." She blinked, surprised. Men never encouraged emotional honesty. They saw tears as weakness. But here was a human telling her she had the right to hurt. "My brother was the only one who didn't treat me differently," she whispered. "He carried me everywhere. He learned to build hover chairs. He fought anyone who insulted me. When he saw the way people rejected me, he became desperate. I think he made that marriage offer to you because he believed humans cared more about hearts than bodies." Chuckled softly. "Sometimes we do, sometimes we're foolish, but your brother is right about one thing: humans keep their promises." Lyra looked at him, studying him with new eyes. "And what promise are you making?" "That you're safe with me," said, "and that no one will force you into anything." Her breath caught. Her chest lifted slowly, as if she was learning how to breathe freely for the first time. "I don't want pity," she said in a trembling voice. "I don't want to be seen as broken." "You're not broken," said firmly. "You're surviving, that's different." For a long moment, Lyra looked at him silently. Her golden eyes softened, filled with something warm, hope, maybe, or trust. She had spent years waiting for someone to look at her without pity or judgment. Didn't look at her legs or the absence of them. He looked at her. Outside the window, stars stretched across the darkness like silver paths. Lyra gazed at them and whispered, "Maybe the universe brought me here for a reason." Smiled, maybe it did. As the ship drifted through the silent beauty of space, Lyra felt something settle inside her, a peace she had never known. And for the first time since she lost her legs, she felt like her life was not ending, but just beginning. Ship, the solace wing, drifted through the frontier routes with a soft hum, carrying its two unlikely companions far from the judgmental eyes of society. Days passed quietly. Lyra learned the rhythms of the ship, the gentle rattling before jump, the soft beep of sensors scanning nearby planets, and the steady footsteps of as he moved from cockpit to engine bay, always focused, always calm. But he never forgot her presence. Every morning, he adjusted the ship settings so the ramps lowered automatically. He lowered the storage shelves so she could reach them. He installed additional grips beside the doors in case she needed to steady herself. They were small changes, but each one felt like a message. "You matter here." Lyra noticed every detail. She had spent years being hidden, escorted, or carried. The idea that someone would change their environment just to make her feel comfortable was new, strange, almost frightening. but it warmed her heart in ways she couldn't explain. One afternoon, as golden light from a nearby star filled the cabin, Lyra floated her hoverchair toward the cockpit, sat at the controls, scanning for a safe mining outpost. She observed him quietly, his strong shoulders, the faint scars on his arms, the tired but determined look in his blue eyes. Humans were softer to the touch then, but somehow harder in spirit. "You work too much," Lyra said gently. Smiled without looking back. "Frontier life doesn't give many breaks." "You should rest," she insisted. He chuckled. "You sound like your brother." Lyra frowned playfully. "Is that a good thing?" "It means you care," replied. His words made her chest warm. She floated closer and watched the star map glowing on the screen. "Where are we headed?" she asked. "Station," he said. "A small place, safe, good for supplies." Lyra nodded, then hesitated. "Am I slowing you down?" He turned in his seat, meeting her eyes with gentle seriousness. "No, not for 1 second." "But I cannot walk, I cannot fight, I cannot help you." "You help more than you think," he interrupted softly. "You remind me why I still care about people." She blinked, her throat tightening. She had never imagined she could inspire anything in someone, let alone hope. Later, while prepared a meal in the tiny galley, Lyra rolled herself into the observation room. Her hoverchair hummed softly as she stopped near the wide glass window overlooking the stars. The universe stretched endlessly, like a giant canvas of shifting light. She stared at it with a strange mix of awe and fear. She didn't hear coming until he spoke. "Beautiful, isn't it?" She nodded. "I used to imagine stars like these when I was younger, when I was still able to run." Leaned on the railing beside her. "You still run," he said simply, "just differently now." His words hit her like a gentle strike, waking something deep within her. She had always thought of herself as someone who lost everything. Legs, dreams, future, but spoke like she hadn't lost anything at all, only changed direction. As she whispered, "What do humans do when life becomes too heavy?" He took a moment to answer. "We break," he said quietly. "We fall apart, we cry, but then we stand again, even if it hurts." "That sounds painful." "It is," he admitted, "but it makes us strong." Lyra looked at him long and deeply. "I want that strength. I don't want to feel useless." "You aren't useless," said firmly. "You survived things many warriors couldn't. You're stronger than you think." Her heart fluttered painfully. No one, not her parents, not her suitors, not even her teachers, had ever spoken to her like that. They had praised her bravery but never her worth, saw something in her that she had forgotten existed. By the time they reached station, the bond between them had grown thick and warm, woven from soft conversations, shared meals, and quiet moments staring at stars together. As they docked, glanced at Lyra with a soft smile. She felt her heart tug in a way she didn't understand. Walking down the ramp, she floated beside him, her chair humming gently. The station smelled of old metal, fresh spices, and burning engines. People passed by with curious glances at the human captain and the legless woman by his side, but didn't care. He placed a hand lightly on her hoverchair and guided her forward. Lyra felt something bloom inside her, fragile, uncertain, but undeniably real. Hope. Maybe humans were strange. Maybe they were reckless, but they were also kind in a way her world never taught her to expect. And as she rolled beside across the busy station floor, she felt, for the first time, that she wasn't a burden. She was a companion, a partner, someone worth walking beside, even if she could not walk at all. Station was usually a peaceful place, but that peace shattered the moment and Lyra returned from gathering supplies. The docking bay was filled with murmurs, nervous glances, and the heavy presence of soldiers in dark armor. Their weapons were not raised, but their posture showed tension, coiled ready. Instinctively stepped in front of Lyra's hoverchair, his hand tightening on the handle. His heart pounded with a protective fury he hadn't felt in years. Then the crowd parted. Lyra's brother marched forward. His scales were darker than before, hardened with worry, and his eyes blazed with fear and anger. He stopped only a few feet away from them, chest heaving. "Human," shouted voice echoing through the bay. "You took her." His jaw clenched. "She chose to come with me." But wasn't listening. His gaze was locked on Lyra, trembling with emotion. "Sister, what have you done? Do you understand how dangerous this is? You left home, you left safety, you left your family." Lyra flinched as if struck. "Brother." "No," interrupted, his voice cracking. "You let this human take you across the frontier. You trusted him with your life, with your dignity." Stepped forward, but Lyra grabbed his wrist, stopping him. She floated her chair closer to her brother. Her hands shook, but her voice was steady. "I was not taken," she said. "I chose to leave." His expression twisted in pain. "You are vulnerable, Lyra. You cannot walk, you cannot defend yourself. Anyone could hurt you out here." Felt his chest tighten. He understood fear too well, but he also saw how deeply those words stabbed into Lyra's heart. Lyra's chin lifted, her golden eyes burning with hurt pride. "I am not a helpless child." "You need protection," insisted. "I need freedom," she whispered. The words hung in the air like a blade. Watched struggle with the truth. The people valued strength above everything. To him, Lyra leaving was like throwing herself into a storm without armor. But what didn't understand was that Lyra had lived in a storm her whole life, silently, quietly, alone. Turned his glare on again. "And you, human, what do you want with her? Honor, gratitude, a story to tell." Stepped closer, unflinching. "I want nothing from her." He paused, voice softening. "I just want her to live a life she chooses." His breathing slowed. Confusion flickered in his eyes. Men were never gentle, never soft. The idea that someone wanted nothing in return, it didn't fit his world. But before he could respond, one of his soldiers rushed to him. "Commander," the soldier whispered urgently, "Raider signatures detected near the station. They may be tracking the human's ship." His head snapped toward them. "Raiders." Lyra's grip tightened on her chair handles. She remembered the battle, the fire, wounds. Glared at once more. "You endangered her life." His voice remained calm but firm. "I didn't bring them here. They followed me. I'm sorry, but I'll keep her safe." His rage cracked, revealing the fear beneath. His voice dropped to a broken whisper. "She is all I have left." The words hit Lyra hard. Tears filled her eyes. She reached forward and grabbed his hand, something she hadn't done since they were children. "Brother," she said softly, "I love you, but love is not a cage." His throat tightened. He looked between her and seeing the fragile bond forming between them, something warm, something real. "Do you trust him?" finally asked. Lyra didn't hesitate. "Yes." Felt his heart pound. The simplicity of her trust was almost painful. Closed his eyes, inhaled deeply, and when he opened them again, something had changed. His shoulders dropped. "Then I will not stand between you," he said quietly. Lyra gasped, tears spilling down her cheeks. Continued, voice heavy with emotion. "But hear me, human. If you ever hurt her, if you ever let her be harmed," he leaned forward, "I will cross the stars to find you." Nodded solemnly. "I would expect nothing less." The raider alert sounded through the station, blaring, urgent, echoing across metal walls. Stepped back. "Take her," he ordered. "Protect her. I will help defend the station." Took the handles of Lyra's hover chair. Lyra looked back at her brother, whispering, "Thank you." Lifted his hand in a trembling salute. "Go, sister, find the life you were." As rushed her toward the ship, Lyra felt her heart break and heal all at once, leaving her world behind but finally stepping into her own future. The Solace wing shot into open space, engines screaming as pushed the ship to its limits. Behind them, station shrank into a small glimmer surrounded by flickers of blaster fire. Raiders, fast, ruthless, and hungry for anything valuable, had arrived in packs. Lyra sat strapped into her hover chair, which had secured beside the co-pilot's seat. Her hands gripped the armrests, knuckles white. She had survived war as a child, but this was different. This time she was not trapped. This time she was part of something. As she whispered, "They're gaining on us." His jaw tightened as he checked the rear sensors. 3 ships streaked toward them, guns glowing red with charging plasma. His heart pounded, but his voice stayed calm. I see them, don't worry. I won't let anything happen to you. She swallowed hard. The confidence in his voice soothed her, but fear still churned inside her chest. The first plasma shot burst past them, shaking the hull like a storm wave hitting an old boat. Lyra flinched. Hold on, shouted. He jerked the controls sideways, and the Solace wing rolled sharply. Lyra's breath caught as stars spun outside the windows like shattered silver. Another shot grazed their right wing. Warning lights flashed red. Target. I know, he replied, voice strained. He dove the ship downward, heading toward a dense asteroid field. Lyra's eyes widened. That's dangerous. That's the point, said, breathing hard. They won't follow us in too deep. The ship entered the field, weaving between massive rocks drifting silently through space. Each asteroid towered over them like a gray mountain. The raiders followed anyway. Lyra felt her body tremble. They're not giving up. They want the ship's data cores, said, and whatever else they think I'm hiding. He didn't say it, but Lyra understood. They also wanted her. A rare, vulnerable woman, raiders would consider her a prize. Her chest tightened in terror. A loud explosion shook the ship again. Sparks burst from a control panel beside her, cursed under his breath, slamming buttons. Shields dropping, he said. We can't take another hit. Lyra's breath came out shaky. She didn't know how to fight. She couldn't run. She couldn't even stand. But she could speak. She said quietly, "Stop protecting me." Turned to her in shock. What are you talking about? Teach me, she whispered. Tell me what to do. I want to help. Stared at her, a legless woman trembling with fear but refusing to be useless. Refusing to be a burden. He nodded, eyes softening. All right. He guided her hand to a panel. These are the emergency flares. If I say the word, you release them. They'll confuse the raiders' sensors for a few seconds. She nodded. And this switch here, he added, pointing, controls the auxiliary thrusters. It gives us a quick burst of speed, but only for 5 seconds. Use it wisely. Tell me when, Lyra said, voice steadying. Returned to the controls, weaving between asteroids. The raiders closed in, engines glowing like angry eyes. Now Lyra flares. She slammed the button. A stream of bright silver flares shot out behind them, scattering like sparks across the darkness. The raiders' sensors flickered. One ship swerved hard, slamming into an asteroid. One down, breathed. But 2 remained. The second raider fired again, this time hitting the rear engines. The ship lurched violently. Lyra cried out as she slammed into her restraints. As she shouted, heart racing. I'm okay, he yelled, though his forehead bled from a cut. But we need to lose them now. He spotted a narrow gap between 2 colliding asteroids, almost impossible to navigate. But he had no choice. Lyra, auxiliary thrusters, on my mark. Her hand hovered over the switch, trembling. 3, 2, 1. She slammed it down. The Solace wing shot forward with a burst of raw force, slipping through the closing gap just in time. The raider behind them wasn't so lucky. The 2 asteroids crushed its ship like a tin can. Only 1 raider remained. Breathed fast, sweat dripping down his neck. Come on, come on. The last raider fired again, straight at their fuel line. Pulled Lyra toward him, throwing his arm around her as a massive shockwave hurled them sideways. The ship spun uncontrollably, alarms blaring. Lyra cried. I've got you, he shouted, holding her close as the world tilted around them. The ship finally steadied, but the engines sputtered weakly. The raider was still behind them. His face went pale. We can't outrun them anymore. Lyra felt fear twist inside her, but something else rose too. Determination. Then we face them, she whispered. Looked at her with a mix of shock and admiration. You're braver than you know, he said softly. And as the enemy ship closed in, Lyra lifted her chin, golden eyes burning with courage. She was no longer a hidden girl in a room. She was the heart of the ship, and she would not let anyone take her life away again. The sun was rising slowly over the mountain range, sending long beams of gold through the broken windows of the medical ward. Sat beside Arya's bed, his hands wrapped gently around hers. She was awake but tired. Her breathing was shallow yet steady. Lyra slept in a chair nearby, her head resting on folded arms, exhaustion written on her face after a full night of worry. Watched Arya quietly, his heart heavy but full of hope. He had spent the whole night fighting the fear that he might lose her. The machines beeped softly, marking every second that she stayed with him. Arya opened her eyes slowly and looked at him with a tired smile. "You didn't leave," she whispered. Shook his head, a warm smile touching his face. "Never, not even for a moment." Arya blinked and tears shone in her eyes. "I thought maybe you would regret everything. Maybe it was too much, the danger, the fight, the pain." He leaned closer, brushing a strand of hair from her forehead. "I will never regret choosing you, not 1 second." Lyra stirred from her sleep, lifting her head with a startled gasp. When she saw Arya awake, relief washed over her face like a wave, and she hurried to the bedside. "Arya, how do you feel?" Her voice shook with emotion. "Tired," Arya whispered, "but happy you're here." Lyra placed a trembling hand on Arya's hair. "I thought I was going to lose you. I was so scared." Arya gave her a soft smile. "You didn't lose me. I'm not going anywhere." Felt a strange wave of peace settle inside him as he watched the sisters. After so much pain, so much fear, seeing them together like this felt like the universe giving him permission to breathe again. Hours passed. The medical team came and checked Arya's condition, confirming she was stable. The ancient core inside her had burned out completely, leaving her weak but safe. No more experiments. No more power ripping through her body. For the first time in years, Arya was simply Arya, no fear of collapsing, no hidden danger. When the doctor left, Lyra went to get food, leaving and Arya alone again. Arya studied his face seriously. "You saved me," she whispered. Shook his head. "We saved each other." But Arya looked away, guilt clouding her expression. "I brought danger to your home, to your people. I caused warships to chase us. I nearly died in your arms. Maybe I never should have come. Maybe." He cut her off gently, taking her hand again. "Arya, look at me." She turned to him, her eyes shining with tears. "You didn't bring destruction into my life," he said. "You brought meaning, you brought light. Before you came, I was just a farmer living day to day. No purpose, no fire in my heart. You changed everything for me. You made me brave. You made me alive." Tears slid down Arya's cheeks. She tried to look away, but he gently guided her chin back toward him. "And you know what?" he whispered. "I don't want a life without you, not now, not ever." Arya pressed a hand to her mouth, overwhelmed. "I can't walk, I can't run, I can't give you anything normal." "You give me something better," he said softly. "You give me someone who never walks away." Arya let out a trembling laugh, her shoulders shaking as she cried. Leaned forward and rested his forehead against hers. "I love you," he whispered. Arya closed her eyes, tears spilling freely. "I love you too." When Lyra returned, she found the two holding each other, quiet and peaceful. She did not interrupt. She only smiled softly, her heart finally letting go of the fear she had held for so long. Later that evening, when Arya had fallen back asleep, Lyra stepped outside with. The sky was painted orange and purple, and the wind carried the soft scent of fields and distant mountains. Lyra looked at with calm, steady eyes. "You truly love her," she said. "With everything I am," answered. Lyra nodded, her voice soft. "Then I give you my whole trust. Protect her, choose her, stand by her. She deserves happiness after everything." Placed a hand over his heart. "I will protect her with my life." Lyra smiled gently. Then she chose the right man. Inside the ward, Arya slept peacefully, safe, loved, and no longer alone. And for the first time in years, the night felt warm. The future felt bright. The universe felt kind again.